What? Who dares disturb my divine being?
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode in my series on The Witcher lore. If this is my first video you're watching, then hello and welcome. My name is Allgod and I'm here to do the best job I can in explaining and showing you the various different characters, creatures, locations and classes inside of the world of The Witcher. The last episode I did inside of the series on creature classes was on Ogroids, but today, however, we're going to be taking a look at Sylvans. Now, these creatures belong to the Relict class, but there are just far too many creatures inside of that class to be able to make it one video, on top of which I've also covered quite a few of them in separate videos, so I'll just continue to make this almost like a mini-series solely around the Relict class, and they'll just be released in single videos rather than one video explaining the entire class. These ancient creatures can live for more than 100 years, and during that time they've collected other names besides Sylvan, as they are commonly known also as Willowers, Deovols, Devils, Pucks, or Yakshas. They can be summed up very basically as exceedingly rare humanoid creatures which, despite their age and their knowledge, can live quite mundane lives. They mainly inhabit forests such as the woodlands of Brooklyn, in which they are tolerated by the dryads and the leprechauns that also reside there. At times, due to an abundance of food and drink, they will also descend into the fertile farming areas like the Valley of the Flowers being a good example, which is essentially a small region that is the home to more than 2,000 elves and is a very rich farming land. Sylvans are not seen as wholly dangerous creatures by humans, or for that matter many other races. They are often accepted as just being very harmless. They do not, however, like to be called devil, which is a nickname they receive from many of the more superstitious people due to their horns, their hairy covered legs and their long tail. They do resemble men, but not solely in appearance alone, as they also share many similar behaviours, though it must be said they have adopted more of our vices and weaknesses than our strengths in that way. They are very lazy by nature and would very gladly spend every day of their lives in idleness, puffing on pipes, gorging rich foods and downing strong drinks. And since they tend to adopt such lifestyles, it often means they enjoy having something for nothing, which often leads to some men not taking so kindly to that fact. Those men, fooled by the Sylvan's awkward appearance, will try to solve this problem using force, which often ends very, very badly for them, as Sylvans, despite their pudgy frames and what would only be assumed as a slow-moving being, are surprisingly strong and agile, being very capable of defending against any who would try to pick a fight and doing whatever they can to protect themselves. However, generally speaking, Sylvans despise bloodshed and violence and will often try to resolve any issues through discussion rather than relying on brute force, which makes them very interesting monsters because there are not a lot that would actually do something like that. They also emit a very powerful and extremely unpleasant scent which can cause even witches who are normally accustomed to foul stenches to gag and feel faint. As to why they emit such an odour, I'm not too sure, it's never really explained, but it must have something to do with just the way they are. There are two notable Sylvans found in the game, that being Allgod and Furgas. There is also one other that comes from the books and the TV show, but I'm not really sure what kind of changes were made between the books and the TV show and the game, so I don't really want to bring that lore into this part of it, because it seems like the Sylvan that was inside of the TV show and the books are a lot smaller and a lot more like a faun or like a devil type creature, so it seemed to make more sense just to explain this and using the two that are inside of the game for reference rather than the one that is also from the books and the TV series. Allgod is a Sylvan worshipped by some villagers in Velen whose cult was initiated in the 12th century after Allgod unintentionally revealed himself to Roslov of Oriton, who upon seeing him thought that he was a godlike being and decided that he should be revered as one. When finally found by Geralt of Rivia, Allgod reveals his true identity, explaining how he managed to convince the villagers to bring him offerings of food and other valuables, at which point Geralt can either kill him, persuade him to accept simple offerings, or to leave the villagers alone completely. These three different options have very different outcomes obviously, and I will not tell you exactly what happens because I think it's something that you should experience for yourself, or you've either played it already and you know what happens. He's one of my favourite encounters in the games, mostly because you just don't really expect it, and the way the villagers have been worshipping him, taking him as a sign of hope as they have none left, is just a really interesting idea because it's something that you would imagine would actually happen. I feel like it's a bit of a play on superstition and the way people would try to explain something when they have no other answers, you know, leading to the most obvious conclusion that he must be a god if they have no idea who he is. Now, Furgas is one of the many servants of the Ladies of the Wood living in Bald Mountain where he guards the caves. He had a very prestigious and responsible position during the Crone's Sabbath where he made sure no one tried to interrupt their ritual by defending the passageways. His size resembles that of an overgrown troll, accompanied by the fact that he displays a troll's lack of subtlety. Never once did he try to verbally stop those entering, and nor was there ever any mischief to him. Instead, he carried out his task with the commitment and professionalism of an overgrad bouncer, which is such a brilliant bloody line. However, trying to stop Geralt turned out to be the ending to both Fergus's life and his career in the Crone's employ. I'm honestly kind of interested to know the story of how he even got that job, because it's not something, you know, you really find out or think about when you're actually fighting him, but when you think about the way a Sylvan acts, from what I understand it, and just the way they are, they don't tend to be looking for jobs where they are going to be defending or going to have to use violence. They would, I'd imagine, try and stay away from that unless the Crones manage to twist his mind or something or get him to think in a different way. It's a little strange to me that they would have a Sylvan of all creatures protecting, well, the back gate to their Sabbath, because it's such an important event for them. You would have thought it was a troll or a giant or something along those lines, but I guess it's kind of cool just because it's a nice little change of creatures, because there's only two of them in the main game. So to have one there as well in case you missed the one in the cellar is a nice touch. Now when it comes to combat, they are very deceptive in their appearance, as melee combat against a Sylvan is very difficult even for a Witcher. Evade their physical strikes and do not attempt to parry or counterattack, as that will do little to no good at all against a Sylvan. Yarden can allow a Witcher time to attack quickly, but a Sylvan can also breathe an intense stream of flames that melt through even the best of armour. There is also the option for long range combat, using a powerful crossbow loaded with some explosive bolts or just something that will deal a little bit more of a punch than just the average ones. And of course use your relic oils as well, because that'll help, but I would definitely recommend trying to talk your way out of a fight with any monster, if at all possible in any way. So that's about everything I have on Sylvans, and before you go, I just want to quickly talk to you about what's going on with the channel and the way I've kind of got a rough plan of what's kind of happening, but I'm not very good at this for reasons, because it's just not the kind of person I am when it comes to having a plan in terms of how I release stuff, in terms of what I do, because this is way too personal for me to actually even think about doing something like that, which might not make any sense, but that's alright, because the way this is working is that right now I'm releasing a lot more content than I used to, and the way I've managed to do that is one, streamlining process of making the video, and also I have started to do one longer video, one shorter video, one longer video, one shorter video, and working on multiple videos all at the same time. And I've also got one very special video that I'm working on, which may or may not come to be depending on how complicated it is, but it's an interesting idea that literally no other lore video or lore YouTuber has actually done before, so that could be a really interesting thing, and it'll be just a cool thing for you guys to see as well, because it's bringing another part of what I do professionally into this. So yeah, that could be interesting, but I'll let you guys know what's kind of happening with it. And truly, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, then drop a like down below, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and then until the next one, you'll go and have a really, really, really good day. Truck Fighters Desert Cruiser.